What is up, and welcome to this special insert edition of the weekly transit, coming to you a little bit earlier than normal. I already put out an episode this week, but I wanted to put this out because, well, I had a really special moment in one of my moon cycle classes, and I wanted to share it with you. I mean, I have a lot of special moments in the moon cycle classes, and I often think of sharing it, and I never do. And this time I'm like, you know what? I'm going to, because what we channeled through was very powerful, and I think it's going to be supportive to you for this full moon. We already talked about the full moon in the regular episode, but when I say channel, we channeled. What I'm talking about is me and my spirit guides, my angels. I'm talking about the people that are there in the class with me, because it is a collaborative effort. Just like the podcast is a collaborative effort. When I hear from people that are listening to the podcast, I feel your energy. Whether I hear from you, you send me a message, or I meet with you for a reading, and I connect with you in that way. I feel like we're having a collaboration between your spirit guides and angels, my spirit guides and angels, and we are using me as the vessel to channel through the information that needs to be shared to whoever's listening. And it was a really, really powerful class. And of course, nobody's name is mentioned. There's no video. Nothing specific is mentioned in terms of any of the people in the class, because I want to protect the privacy of everyone who's in the class, because nobody in the class is signing up to be exposed onto the podcast. But so, what I'm sharing, what you're getting is a snippet. It's about 30 minutes of the class. The class is 2 hours long. And that's typically how the classes go. I usually begin the class where I'm checking in with the people that are in the class. I'm getting the vibe. And through that vibe, I'm sensing what needs to come through. And then I just kind of go off for like 30 minutes or so. And then we reconnect with the class. And then we go through each chart of each individual in the class to channel through how the full moon or the new moon, whichever class it is affecting each individual. So what you're going to hear right now is the portion where it's just me channeling through for about 30 minutes my perspective of this full moon in Leo. And I hope it's helpful to you. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it supports you through the full moon. All the best to you on this lunar journey of the full moon in Leo. Welcome to the Weekly Transit, your guide to understanding the current planetary and astral alignments. Together, we'll explore how to harness these cosmic frequencies, empowering you to reach your highest potential as you navigate the days ahead. I'm your host, Scott Tajarian. When you look at the root symbols of the language of astrology, and the circle of spirit tells you who you are or what you are. It's your eternal soul, no beginning, no end. The cross of matter tells you where you are, the world of matter, fire, earth, air, water. 4 points of the cross, fire, earth, air, water. And then the crescent of receptivity tells you why you're here. You're here to teach, and you're here to learn. That's it. So, in order to learn something, you got to feel like you don't know it. And in order to feel like you don't know it, you got to make a mistake. But is it really a mistake, or is it just an opportunity to learn something? Certain mistakes bring
consequences that are more challenging and difficult than others. But the good news is, eventually, we're all going to be dead. And 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 then we can float around in the ether and reflect upon what we did in this life, and heal from those experiences, and then decide to come back or go someplace else and do it all over again. And you look back at these experiences that you had and you're like, wow, I was really upset about that thing. It doesn't really seem like a big deal anymore, you know? So, part of this Pisces frequency is to really help you release control. To help you release control, to say, like, there's nothing I can do. And the more that I try to do, the worse it gets. It's like that thing. It's like, stop talking, because the more you open your mouth, the worse it gets. Or stop touching that thing. You're making it worse. That's what the universe is saying right now. It's literally trying to shake us out of our shoes and say, you don't have any control. Stop pretending like you do. Stop pretending like you have control. You are disrespecting God. You are disrespecting the universe. You are disrespecting the divine order of things by trying to control it. You never could control it to begin with. But now we're in a period where it's like you need to recognize that you need to let the current take you to where it needs you to go. It's almost like, if you're in a canoe and you're trying to paddle upstream, and you're in the canoe, you don't know how you got into this canoe. That's life, right? You're like, I'm here. How did that happen? I don't even know how this came to be. I just woke up one day. These are my parents. This is my life. Okay, that's my face. This is my body. Like, okay. What was also, so we're in the canoe. You're in the canoe, and the destination of where you intuitively want to go is right here. It's right behind you. But yet your mind is telling that you have to go this way and all the way around like this to get to that point. And so you're frantically paddling to get to that point, when all you have to do is just let go of the paddle and you float back and, oh, here it is. This is where I'm supposed to be. So this is literally a time where we need to stop trying so hard. And the more we're trying, the more difficult we're just making it for ourselves. What we need to do is just say, God, universe, whatever higher power I believe in, I don't know what the hell's going on here. I really don't. I'm confused. I feel like I've been deceived. I've been misled. I feel like I've deceived myself. I feel like I don't trust myself. I feel like I don't know what decision to make, because if I make this decision, it's going to be wrong. And if I make that decision, it's going to be wrong. So the only thing I can do is just imagine a happy ending and hope that you make that ending come true. And I trust in you. And I trust that everything's happening the way that it's supposed to happen. And that's it. And you just let it play out. And that's really where this full moon comes into focus. Because this full moon is in Leo. Leo is symbolized by the lion. What is a group of lions called? A pride. A pride. It's not a herd of lions. It's not a group of lions. It's a pride of lions. And the full moon is a time to release. So what are we supposed to release? It's really quite simple. We need to release our pride. We need to release our pride. I know what's going to happen. I know what's best for me. This is what I need. I mean, we set our intentions to take responsibility for our role within the group construct. That's what the new moon in Aquarius was about. What is it that makes me unique? And what is it about my uniqueness that I can bring into the group construct that supports the group? Because what I'm doing for the group is existing. You know, it's like, you ever had somebody say, thank you so much for how much you've helped me? Like, people say that to me all the time, you know, the work that I do. I'm very fortunate in that way. But you're welcome. Yes, absolutely. But thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for needing me. You know, like sometimes the group is like, you're thanking us, but you know, thank you. Thank you for needing me. You're helping me get out of my own shit. You're helping me realize that, you know, there's more to this life than just me and my own problems. I get to experience all your problems. So, you know, that's releasing pride, that you think you have to do something. All you have to do is show up. Your presence is everything. Your presence is everything. That's why I want to see your faces, you know, because it's great to hear a voice, and if the camera can't go on, okay, fine. But when I see your face, that's a different frequency. It's a different vibration. So, you know, but then I even think about someone like who can't see your face. But the fact that he's here and I can experience vicariously through him his blindness and how he has vision through the blindness where he sees colors and shapes when we speak. Because his visual senses have been transmuted into something that is blind within us. So when he shares with me that, oh, I see these colors and these shapes when this person's talking or that person's talking, it makes me realize where I'm blind. Because I'm like, oh, maybe I should be looking at people in that way. What do I see when I just hear their voice? Is there a color? Is there a shape? Is there a feeling? So everybody is contributing. Stop thinking that you need to do so much. We're all salt. And we need salt. If there's no salt in the food, in the dish, it's bland. It's bland. But if there's too much salt, it overpowers the dish. That's what this Leo pride is about. You know, it's a funny thing, and I can't speak to this from my own experience, but it's just kind of like a vicarious experience because honestly, like since these fires happened in LA, I was just talking to my sister yesterday who was directly affected by the fires, you know, and I was like, I don't think I've left Long Beach since I was in the Pacific Palisades the Sunday before the fires started. And so, you know, people ask me all the time, like, what's going on? Are you affected? How are people doing? I'm like, fine, I guess, you know, but life is the same for me. Nothing's really changed. There was a period where it was hard to breathe outside for a little bit. I just stayed inside. My car got covered with some ash. Okay, you know, but I see online all these people in Los Angeles wanting to help. You know, sometimes it's like you see people wanting to help, and it's almost like it's more about them than it is about the people that are they're helping. You know, it's like, uh, yeah, and that's pride. Well, I need to be the superhero. I need to, you know, go and save the day. No, you don't. It might actually just be better if you stay home and take care of yourself. So where is that pride coming up for you? This Piscean frequency is helping us really go deep within ourselves to reflect upon the pride, especially with Mars, which is making this long aspect to Saturn all week. You know, what day is it today? February 8th. The full moon doesn't happen until February 12th. And so, you know, going back to even last week or earlier this week, these two planets, Mars and Saturn, started to come into alignment with each other. Mars is ending its retrograde at 17 degrees in Cancer, which is pushing us to take an aggressive look at our past, to have the courage to reflect upon our past. Mars retrograde ends on February 23rd. But during this period, it's aligning in a trine, a supportive aspect with Saturn at 18 degrees in Pisces, which is urging us to take responsibility for what is going on within our unconscious. The guilt, the shame, the regret, the blame. You know, there's a lot of survivor's guilt, is what they call it. But it's about needing to take responsibility for that guilt. And where does that guilt stem from? Where in your past have you felt guilty like that before? When was the first time you felt guilty that way? I bet if you really sat with it, you know, if you put on the headphones, listen to some, you know, deep trance-like music, you know, soothing music, calming music, maybe it's classical music, whatever it is, it like kind of gets you in that flow, you know, probably not something with lyrics, and you just allowed your mind to drift and you thought about your past, you could probably go back to your birth and remember that first inkling of guilt, shame, regret, or blame. And when you go there, that's at the root of the weed. Rip it out. Take responsibility for it. Along with this long aspect between Mars and Saturn is the long aspect between Mars and Chiron, which have been squaring each other for weeks now. and are going to continue squaring each other for weeks. And they're going to square each other again, like directly. This is the third time that this is happening. This is the third time that Mars has aligned with Saturn. Let me look at my notes. I mentioned this in the podcast, but I got to see my notes. Was it this? No, it was last week. So just to give you those dates. So yeah, so Mars squared Chiron back on October 13th. And then it squared it exact on February 3rd again. So the first time on October 13th. It's fun to see how, like, like the dance of the planets. Like, it really is like, it's like music, how these planets align with each other. Because on October 13th, Mars was direct and Chiron was retrograde when they squared off. Then on February 3rd, Mars was retrograde and Chiron was direct. Then on March 26th, when they square each other exactly again, but they're really squaring each other the entire all through this time, really, like for the next month and a half, like we're just feeling this frequency of Mars squaring Chiron. So on March 26th, they're both going to be direct. By March 26th, we want to have been able to really have faced our fears and insecurities. That means we need to go back to the nitty-gritty of where this comes from. Where does this suffering come from? It's not new. It probably goes back lifetimes, if you can go back that far. I recommend doing some past life regressions, understanding the origin of your soul and how it got to be here now. That's doing the deep work. Doing that deep work and releasing the pride. Because you may have guilt that goes back lifetimes. Didn't start now. Energy is continuous. I love a great DJ that can just mix one song into the next. And it's it just flows. And that's what life, I love it because that's life. That's the frequency of life. That's the frequency of your soul. You think you ended your last life and you're just yeah, everything's great, woohoo! And then you show up in this life and everything's horrible. No, it doesn't work that way. That's like going from a country song to a classical music song. It doesn't work. You got to find a way to kind of mix it in. There's got to be a frequency that it continues, like water. Water flows. And so this full moon is not only about releasing your pride, but recognizing what's at the root of that pride. Where does that pride stem from? Because my dad always told me, son, you got to pull out the weed by the root. If you don't pull it out by the root, it'll grow back. And we don't want it to grow back. So if you're just pulling out your pride that you see above the ground, it's going to grow back. You got to dig into the root. And Mars squaring Chiron is urging us to face those fears, the roots of those fears, the roots of that guilt. Because guilt, shame, regret, and blame are merely the fruit of fear. They're not their own tree. They're the fruit of fear. I'm blaming myself because I'm afraid that I might do it again. I feel guilty because I'm afraid I might do it again. I'm ashamed because I'm afraid I might do it again. I regret it because I'm afraid I might do it again. There's no love there. Love is understanding that, yeah, you fucked up. You made a mistake. Learn from it. That's why you're here. You're here to learn. Be better. You can be. And when you see this full moon, it's not just the moon in Leo, it's the moon in Leo opposing Mercury in Aquarius conjunct the sun, which all three are squaring Uranus in Taurus. Uranus is the planet of revolution, the planetary ruler of Aquarius, transiting through Taurus, the sign that represents your self-worth. So this is an awakening of your conscious mind. So that you can recognize the status of your self-worth. Maybe my pride has gotten in the way of me receiving what I really deserve, which is greater than what I think I deserve. Because pride is also keeping you from success. Pride is when you say, I don't deserve it. I deserve to be punished. I deserve to be punished. That's pride. Says who? You don't get to be the judge. You don't get to be the judge of whether or not you're punished or not. That's not your responsibility. That's you trying to control things again, trying to control things. You are a part of a divine plan. And in this moment, if you're punishing yourself, that's part of the divine plan too. But the moment you release your pride and say, I forgive myself, that's also a part of the divine plan. So which part of the divine plan would you like to be a part of? The part where you're punishing yourself or the part where you're forgiving yourself? Because they're both a part of the divine plan. Which part would you like to be a part of? Choose to release your pride and be a part of the divine plan that says, I forgive myself. I deserve more. I can see this logically now. I didn't know. Now I do. And moving forward, I will make a different choice. Venus in Aries is not just about asking yourself the question, who am I, what do I want, and what am I here to, or what do I want to give in return? Or what do I want to, who am I, what do I want, and what am I willing to give in return? It's also about, what do I like? What do I don't like? It's about being clear and confident in your senses. It's about trusting your senses. And sometimes in order to trust your senses, to trust your instincts, you have to release your pride. It says, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve it. Earth is the restaurant, and we are its guests. The angels are the servers and the staff, and God is the chef. For those of you that are specific manifestors, it's quite simple. You go in and you order exactly what you want. For those of you that are non-specific manifestors, you walk in, you ask the server, or you tell the server, these are my dietary restrictions. Surprise me with something amazing. I've heard the food is great here. That's life in a nutshell. Release your pride. Don't think that you need to get up and cook the food. It's not your job. God will do that. The universe will do that.
So, again, I hope what you just heard of the channel, of the full moon in Leo, I hope it was helpful to you. I hope it was inspiring and empowering for you. And if you're curious to learn how the next lunar cycle will be affecting you directly, the new moon in Pisces and the full moon in Virgo, I encourage you to enroll in the moon cycle classes at theweeklytransit.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to the Weekly Transit. If you're curious to learn how these transits or any other transits may be affecting you, or if you're interested in learning more about your astrological code, contact me for a reading at theweeklytransit.com. This episode was produced by me, Scott Tajarian. Music written by Ben Leinbach from Listen Deep by Amber Herzog Lyman. Wishing you all the best as you ride the planetary waves.